Primeval was a British TV series that aired in 2007, created by Impossible Pictures and aired on ITV. But the thing is, there were so many creatures that appeared through the anomalies in each series that it's impossible to think which is the most favourite creature from my point of view. Well, that's what this video is about. So stick around, my friends, viewers, and everyone else that has come to this special video, as we are about to explore the world of Primeval in my top 10 favourite Primeval creatures, with honourable mentions as well. So, without further ado, let's begin the countdown of the Primeval creatures as we explore a very, very dangerous world. So the first creature starting off this list is from Series 3, Episode 1, known as Champus. This guy was an absolute beautiful creature when I first saw it when I was a little kid. I loved the coloration on this thing, like, look at it. Browns, creamy beiges and all those sort of colours that would help it blend into like dark murky waters that I would assume where it lived in its time period. I also loved how this animal could walk on 4 and 2 legs. In a way, sort of like an iguanodon did. But that's not what we're discussing about right now. We're talking about this guy. I also love how it had this crocodilian look to it. Though, there is a slight problem I have with this animal, which is how it could actually walk on 2 legs. Now that I look back at it as a growing up, I just felt like with its weight, it probably didn't look right, if you know what I mean. Like, I feel like a creature like that would probably not be able to do that. It'd probably be able to, like, run or something, but it just still doesn't look right. I could just see it more as a creature that is like an actual crocodile that hunts and walks on its 4 legs instead of 2. But apart from that slight pickiness, I still love this animal so much. That's one of my favourites to watch in the whole entire series. So without further ado, let's move on to our next animal. So the next creature on our list is Draco Rex, a pachycephalosaurid dinosaur that lived in the Cretaceous period. Although this animal isn't accurate in Primeval, I absolutely adore its design. Like, I really, really love it. Like, if you look at this thing, like, it's a kind of dragon dinosaur hybrid, which is something I really love. Like, on its back, it's got like these dragon wing-like spines, gigantic horns, representing the pachycephalosaurid genes in it. It was almost like a monster. But this is Primeval, and I love how they do some of these creature designs. And Draco Rex was one of them. Like, in the episode, it was meant to be represented as a dragon due to the plot, where it somehow walked through an anomaly from its home into a time when knights roamed, where villagers thought this was a dragon terrorizing their village. And in a way, it was actually kind of sad for me, like how they treated this animal as a giant monster when it was just a poor innocent herbivore, lost and scared. But that's probably why I love the animal. Like, it really made me feel passionate and empathy for an animal like this. So in a way, that is why Draco Rex has taken up my number 9 spot, because it had more screen time than Pristochampus, and plus I just loved its brief reappearance in season 4. Now that we've got this beautiful animal on the way, as much as I would love to discuss it, let's charge straight into number 8. The next animal on our list that is coming from the Ice Age, from South America, is the terror bird. This appeared in season 3. I absolutely loved this beast when I saw it. I loved its design, the way it acted, how it acted did like a true predator. So in the plot, they appear coming after our main characters in the episode. That come from the Ice Age Ruin anomaly in a forest. And if we look in this image here, what I also love is how they added the little detail of that huge killer claw, which is actually, I believe, something scientists have actually discovered. And that makes it even more accurate, which is something I love. However, throughout the series, the terror bird did have a few more appearances. Like, it reappeared in season 4 of a completely different design. And in Primeval New World, it reappeared again. But this design of the terror bird in Primeval is my absolute favourite. I think it's because I saw this one first out of the others, and plus I just love the coloration of the brownish grey feathers, how it's got like a pinkish bit on its huge grey naked neck with a few feathers at the top of its head, which I love as well. Love the huge killer beak, and plus it's just like I said, the addition of the killer claw. It just showed me as well that not every creature has to be like a huge reptile or a killer cat to be dangerous. Like, even just a huge bird could be dangerous. Let's move on to our next contestant in the top 10. Taking the number 7 spot from the skies is the Pteranodon. The Pteranodon is if not the most accurate Pteranodon designs I have ever seen. I love this coloration of it, the way it looked, the way it hunted. I just appreciate this for what it is. Like in Jurassic Park 3, they made the Pteranodons as well more, to be more bipedal, where they folded their wings and actually walked on the land. With the Pteranodon, they didn't try and make it like they did in Jurassic Park. They tried to make it more like an actual animal that was kind of confused and just acted like an everyday regular bird or flying animal. In the episode where it appeared in season 1, there were 2 types of pterosaurs. Of course, the Pteranodon, the other being Achnionaphus. Now that one I didn't really love that much, the Achnionaphus. But the Pteranodon was one I really loved. I also liked how they tried to give it like it was the culprit at first of killing. But no, it actually just went off the small lizards and all those type of things. And I just really appreciated that detail for what this animal is. And like here, it is just a beautiful creature in general. Though, one slight problem did get to me a lot. It was the way it stood when it didn't fly. Like, they kind of had it in the series where it would stand on its two back legs with the wings kind of folded like a bird in a way. I just didn't like that. I liked how they did it more in Jurassic Park 3. But I still appreciated this Pteranodon design for what it was, even for its time in 2007. So in conclusion, the Pteranodon is a beautiful creature that I would love to see every now and again in the Primeval franchise. Let's soar on to the next contestant in the top 10 Primeval creatures. Before we move into the number 6 creature, I just want to give a warning for my good friend Sam Kilpatrick that as he's someone that doesn't like insects, I will suggest moving on to number 5 so we can avoid seeing the eyes of this animal. Coming in from number 6 from the future is a creature that just missed out in that top 5. The Megopteran. Now this was a beauty of a futuristic insect. Like it had like the features of flies, dragonflies, and probably spiders in a way, which is something I really loved seeing. Now I'm sure for some this was a really creepy, crawly insect that you would not want to see. But for me, this is something I could actually imagine happening in the future. Like, when it appeared in season 3, I could not get enough of this huge insect. I just loved it for what it was, and how we got to see more of it in the future, where it shared a home with another creature you will be seeing later on in the list. And I also loved how it was even able to fight this creature, like I said, you'll be seeing later as well. And how it could even hunt this animal, more which is not to be mentioned yet. But what I really also love about the Megopteran is how they didn't treat it like how some films treat a killer insect. Like, they didn't always try to make it like a huge predator that would just go after one human after the next. They actually tried to make it more animalistic. Just when they find something, they would kill it and then bring it back to its young if it had any, or feed on it itself, which I really appreciated when I saw the Megopteran in Primeval. So, the final thing I would like to say is, in general, the Megopteran is an amazing, beautiful design of a futuristic insect, but which is sadly just missed out in the top 5, which was beaten by some other awesome animals. So, now that we've got the first half out of the way, let's move on to the next ones, shall we? See who's in our number 5. So, coming in at number 5, that beat the Megopteran, was none other than the iconic, cute, adorable little guy named Rex. I, along with others, absolutely love Rex. I'm going to just keep saying Rex because I don't know how you pronounce the actual name of this creature's species. But if you guys know how to pronounce it, let me know in the comments below. And that would be a real big help for me. So, what I really love about Rex when we first see him is how no one sees what he is at first. They just think he's a brand new species of reptile that's been discovered. But then, as we go on, we actually see he came from the Permian period, which was a time that came before the dinosaurs, for those that don't know. And in general, I actually just really find Rex adorable. His sounds, the way he's treated like an amazing friend to Abby and Connor. And I really like his design as well, like the greens, the reds, the oranges, and the different shades. And sure, he may not get enough screen time in some series, but he is still enjoyable to watch, especially when we see him running around the office in season 1 trying to escape the scientists, like using a lift, actually listening to a bit of music and bobbing his head, which I kind of found adorable and funny, and deciding to actually stay with Abby instead of going out there in a whole new world, which I just really loved, showing that he has true loyalty and trust to Abby, who has a huge interest in reptiles. And throughout the series, his colours start to dull a bit, showing his age, which I loved as detail as well. Like, with some colours on animals, their colours will probably start to dull a bit, wouldn't they? But if not, I just loved how they added that when he reappeared in series 4. So that's why Rex is at number 5. Because although he's an iconic mascot to the Primeval series, there were just others that I loved more than Rex. Shall we find out who they are? Well, of course you do, that's why you're here. Let's move on. So prowling into the number 4 spot is Saber-Tooth Cat, or Smilodon. This was a creature that appeared in series 2, but never appeared again after that. But what we got from series 2 made me absolutely love it so much. Because in general, I just love Smilodon. Like, I love the colours on this thing. It actually had like a leopard type of style to it. Those huge killer teeth. Tuft of fur along its neck. I just loved the Smilodon's design in general. Like this, along with the Walking with Beasts design, was one of my favourite designs to ever see of a Smilodon. And if I'm right, I believe this Smilodon, unlike Walking with Beasts design, was actually based on a different subspecies of the Smilodon, which was Smilodon populator, the biggest of the Smilodons. And that was something I really appreciated as a whole. Because in every Ice Age film or series, they always focus on like the most iconic of them, which is Smilodon fatalis. I mean, if I'm wrong, let me know as well about this, but I do believe it was Smilodon populator, which was the biggest of them. And I just loved that it got to choose a different type of Smilodon that wasn't the fatalis, which I think was just even more awesome to see. But the one thing I wasn't really liking about it, like, it's not much, just like a like nitpick. It was the claws. Like, how they always stuck out when, with other big cats, they can always retract their claws in and out. But the Smilodons always just stuck out. A bit like how Scar's front claws did in The Lion King. I mean, I liked that, but I've loved it more if they just had the claws retractable. But all in all, I absolutely love the Smilodon so much that I would never stop loving this cat, as it's in one of my favourite episodes of the Primeval series, and it's the number 4 most favourite Primeval creature. So, beating the Smilodon by a mile is the raptors from Primeval. Now, these were dinosaurs I absolutely loved in the Primeval franchise. Like, wow, these guys were amazing. They appeared in Series 2, Series 3, slight appearance in Season 4, and I believe Series 5 as well, but I don't know, but I'll have to rewatch it again to see. Like, but apart from that, I just loved the creature's design in general. Like, I loved how it gave like these rattling feather spikes. The coloration as well was beautiful. Blacks, whites, and blue around the head. Now, I'm not talking about blue from Jurassic World before anyone says. I'm talking about this blue around the eye, the head. And it's running down a bit of the spikes along the back of its head as well. This was just a raptor design I really loved. Obviously, the Jurassic Park's raptor design is best. But this is a very close second. The thing I really love as well is like how these unique sounds, like with other raptor design in other films, they always use like the Jurassic Park or World's raptor designs or sounds. But I loved how Primeval created their own design and their own sounds for this raptor. The funny thing is though, none of us know exactly what species of raptor it is. Like, some thought it was Dromaeosaurus, others thought it was Deinonychus, some thought it was the iconic Velociraptor, but no one really knew, for example. But in Primeval, they just decided to call them raptors. The others still believe it was some kind of Dromaeosaurid. But apart from that confusion, the raptor is still my most favourite as number 3 in the Primeval series. I would literally watch this raptor over and over again, and I even have the figure of this raptor that I still love so much. So, let's leap on to see who is at number 2 and who is at number 1 of the top 10 primeval creatures, shall we? So coming in at number 2, which is probably a huge surprise for some, is actually the future predator. Now, obviously this wouldn't be a surprise to some, as the future predator is an iconic creature in the Primeval series. And don't get me wrong, I love the future predator. I love the design of a futuristic bat and how they created their own creature from the future. By the way, this was the creature I was talking about with the Megopteran that it shared its world with, and how they had an epic fight, which was something I really loved as well, like getting to see two future animals fighting one another. This was in Series 3 for those that don't know where the fight is coming from. But the future predator first appeared in the final episode of Season 1. And it's been throughout pretty much every single series except for Season 4, I think. But in order to be sure, I'll have to watch the whole of the series again. So the question is, for you, why do you think the future predator is not at number 1? Well, in my honesty, I love the future predator, and I love how scary it was when I first saw it. But the problem was for me is that it got used too much. Like, Season 1, it was a real good scary creature. Series 2, it was used as a very clever weapon, which eventually lost the controls from its master and killed their own master to be awesome animals again. Series 3. Loved them and seeing them in the actual future with their young, fighting the Megopterans, and just in general But then in Series 5, it just didn't get me as much. Like, I feel like it should have ended with Series 3 of Where We See the Future Predator. Then that way, it probably would have taken the #1 spot. But when it appeared in Series 5, I was like, oh, I think I've had enough of a future Predator appearing again and again. So like I'm saying, like, it got used a bit too much in the series. Like, first 3 series, perfect. The rest, not as much. But all in all, I still love the future Predator for what it is. A beautiful animal that deserves to take the #2. Now, before we move to #1 to see who, or what, should I say, took that place instead of future Predator, I would like to take a moment now to mention some honourable mentions that I also would have had on the list, but didn't get the shot. So, the honourable mentions I would love to mention are those that appeared in my head to be on the list, but didn't quite make it. But I thought I'd take the time to tell you which ones were opportunists to be on this top 10. Starting off with the Caprosuchus. I loved the croc, which is his name meaning, like the tusks. And I loved the attention to detail of a broken tusk. The way this creature moved was epic. The Diictodon was another one that could have been on the list, but took an out because Rex deserved to be on there. This guy is still cute as hell. The Mer creature was another one, as I loved the design of a futuristic half seal, half primate type of animal. And plus it was just another own creature creation for Primeval. Spinosaurus was another to be on the list that appeared in Series 4, because I loved this. But it was one that I didn't think deserved to be on the list, but was an option to be on there, because the Spinosaurus from Jurassic Park 3 is still the best. Another dinosaur is the Gigantosaurus or Giganotosaurus, however you want to pronounce it. I loved this dinosaur design. It was a beautiful, majestic, gigantic animal that would have been on the list, but I felt like it didn't get enough screen time for what we got, and it should have appeared in another series. Another one is the Camo Beast from Series 3. This was a creature that was in a well-told story, and I loved how it had the idea of camouflage and was showing like a bit like a gremlin primate animal. I just wish we could have seen more of it, which is probably why it didn't make it on the list either. Another is the Colombian mammoth. Now for some you would know this guy, and I never knew about the Colombian mammoth before Primeval, so if it wasn't for Primeval I never would have known about the Colombian mammoth, which is a hairless species of mammoth. But I loved the design, and I loved how it was kept along in the series, and now it killed a future predator as well with its tusk. But I just wish we could have seen more of it. The dodo is another one that was going to be on the list, but was ruled out because it didn't get enough screen time. But I loved the design of this animal, like not the iconic stumpy dumb dodos, they were like actual animals that look like a dodo from what we can tell from science and paleontologists. And just the coloration as well was beautiful, like the greys and whites made it really stand out to me. Another one, which was a bug, was the Silurian scorpion. I have a toy of this and I absolutely love playing with it. I also have the toy of Future Predator and the Smilodon, but I never really got into the Silurian scorpion as much as like the Megopteran. I mean, I still love the scorpion, but I just feel like it didn't get what it deserves in justice of screen time, well-told stories. Though I love the idea of how it hunts underground though. And the final honourable mention is the Scootosaurus, which appeared in the first episode of Series 1 and the first final 2 episodes of Series 2. I mean, I loved the Walking with Monsters design more, but I loved the design and coloration for the Scootosaurus here. That was more bigger, bulkier as well. Though I just feel like it didn't really get to do much in what it did. Like, it was just there to be like a sort of side creature. So that's all the honourable mentions that have appeared in my head to be on the list, but didn't make it, but still love so much. So, it's time to see who has taken the crown out of all the creatures in the Primeval, and what is my most favourite of them all. So taking the number 1 spot is none other than Gorgonopsid. I absolutely, really love the Gorgonopsid in Primeval. Like, I love its design even more than the Walking with Monsters. But I love that design as well. But the Primeval's one was beautiful, majestic, epic. The coloration was awesome on this thing. I loved how the first creature to appear in the Primeval series instead of a dinosaur Ice Age animal that came from the Permian period. Like, it really brought the attention of creatures that came before the dinosaurs, which is probably why I love it even more. And I even love how fast this predator moved despite its size. I also loved the sounds it had, the way it acted like a true animal. And even, I really love this animal. What I really love the best is its finale appearance in Season 1, Episode 6, where it actually fought a future predator and won against it using its bulky size to ground slam this future predator and then do a victory roar and take it away to eat. The Gorgonopsid fighting the future predator is my most favourite scene in the whole of the Primeval series, and the Gorgonopsid is my favourite creature out of all of them. That's why it's at number 1. And I could go on and on for hours about why I love this Gorgonopsid so much. Now, another thing I really loved, I would say, about why I loved the Gorgonopsid fighting the future predator was how fast the fight took, because it made it more realistic and intense. And I loved pretty much everything about the Gorgonopsid, which is why it has taken the number 1 crown of my top 10 favourite primeval creatures. So there you go everyone, that is my top 10 favourite primeval creatures video brought to an end. I hope you enjoyed this so much, and if you did, please like, comment and subscribe, and tell me what your favourite primeval creature is. If it's the Gorgonopsid, Future Predator, or any of the other ones in general. Or if it's one that didn't even appear on the list. So I would love to hear your thoughts. So until next time, Rhino out.